Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. It is hate week, people, rivalry week. Clemson versus South Carolina. Clemson travels up to South Carolina this Saturday for rivalry week. It's going to be a great game. Clemson leads the series at 43-44-4 all time. We're going to get into everything that is the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry. We're going to talk Cade Klubnik's legacy at Clemson. What does that look like? The injury situation at Clemson right now. All of that and more coming up in tonight's episode. But if you're not subscribed to the channel, before we get into the show tonight, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Help us get to that 6,000 subscriber mark, if you will. Consider hitting that like button on this video. Really helps us out on these live videos. And then also we have the super chat feature available for you guys. At the end of the show, me and Jordan will get to the comment section. We will get to as many comments and questions as we possibly can. We can't get to all of them, so if you want to ensure that your comment and or question is read and responded to during this live episode, be sure to hit that super chat feature. Help support the show and make sure that your comment is read. And then last but certainly not least, we have memberships to the channel now. So hit that join button below this video if you want to get access to our exclusive content, our game watch-alongs, hanging out with me and Jordan, watching a Clemson game. If that sounds like something you're interested in, hit that join button below this video, become a channel member, and you can select your tier. It's anywhere from $3 to $5 to $25. So select your betting tier. It will be a monthly subscription to the channel, and you'll get access to that exclusive content, a little bit of a smaller group of people, so we get to chop it up and hang out a little bit more and watch Clemson games together. So hope you guys will consider that. But with all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, what's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good, man. Did not mean to put that on the screen. We're here. It's rivalry week. It's been a week for me, but I'm really excited to finally, just kind of talk about this game. It's kind of had a lot of anticipation, but kind of for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And now we're actually at the point. I mean, it's a big game for a lot of reasons. We'll certainly talk about them, but yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I hope everybody has got their plans for Thanksgiving. Y'all let us know kind of what your honestly, what's something we can ask the comment section. Put your favorite Thanksgiving food in the comment section or something.
Favorite Thanksgiving dish, the dish you go to first at your respective Thanksgiving meal. What's the dish you go to or that you look forward to the most? I think that's appropriate. And then also in the comment section, ham or turkey? What's your go-to? Ham or turkey? Put that in the comment section as well. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you get to spend time with family and friends and whoever you're going to be spending Thanksgiving with. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving holiday week. And hopefully it's a good week for the Tigers as well. We're going to get into the show tonight, but before we do that, Jordan, we're going to get into the comment section. We're going to shout out the people that have showed up so far tonight. If you're in here, hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. Helps us out on these live videos, and we really do appreciate it. John Sarian gets in here first tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate him. He is not only a moderator of the channel, one of the OGs of the channel, he's also a channel member. You see that symbol to the right of the wrench. That means that he's a supporter of the channel. He's a channel member, and he comes and hangs out with us on all of our watch-along streams when we're watching Clemson football right here on the channel. So if you guys want to join us, consider becoming a channel member. We appreciate you. John. Isaac Smith is in the chat. Jared Clark is in the chat. KD is in the chat as well. And I think that's it so far. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Wet Sox gets in as well. Thanks for getting in here, Wet Sox. Really do appreciate you. But Jordan, it's been a busy week. It's a holiday week for everybody. People are traveling. Things are crazy. That's kind of how it works on, this holiday weekend that the Clemson South Carolina game always falls on, and it's a fun week. It's a week that I look forward to as a college football fan ever since the time that I was very small. I grew up a college football fan. My claim to fame is I came home from the hospital with a tiger paw on my chest. So I was indoctrinated very early on in my life, and it has been a lifelong adventure supporting the Clemson Tigers. And nothing says being a Clemson fan like getting hyped up for the Clemson South Carolina game. This is what makes, in my opinion, Jordan, college football so much fun and so different from every other sport on the planet. Is rivalry weekend. This is the weekend that separates college football from all the other sports, even sports that are just like them, like the NFL. It is so much different in college football. The culture of college football, the passion of college football, the stadiums, the traditions, the atmosphere. But at the top of that mountain of what makes college football so great, in my opinion, is rivalry weekend. I love it. I can't wait. I know it's been a disappointing season, but I still look forward to this game.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is the game you circle every year. If nothing else, this is the game that you circle every single year to win. I mean, there's certainly a lot of history between these two programs, and just no matter what the record. I mean, this is one of those games where it's like no matter what the team's records are. I mean, you can tell it means a lot to both fan bases. I mean, it's obvious. There's very few rivalries out there that compare, if any, to the level of hatred that this rivalry has. I mean, shoot, right. they almost had a literal gunfight over it 100 years ago. So that tells you anything about this.
And they also had a brawl on the field way back in 2004, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows that when both teams banned themselves from a bowl game, and that whole brawl, people kicking people without helmets on, it was crazy. I mean, that encompasses the deep-seated disdain that these two fan bases have for each other. It is absolutely insane. In the state of South Carolina, you were born. If you are from the state of South Carolina, you were born in the state of South Carolina. At birth, you got to pick a side. And you're either picking South Carolina or you're picking Clemson. And that's just how it goes in the state of South Carolina. There's no professional sports in the state of South Carolina. I know the Carolina Panthers try to claim North and South Carolina. That's not the case. College football is king in the state of South Carolina. It is one of the biggest and probably one of the most underrated rivalries in college football. Everybody thinks about the big rivalries in college football. They think Michigan, Ohio State. They think about Alabama, Auburn, and rivalries like that. But I do think the Clemson, South Carolina rivalry in the state of South Carolina is underrated in college football. It's obviously my favorite, all bias, fully admitted. I don't care. It is one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football.
Yeah, 100%. And now we're here in the however many amount of games. I should have had the stats prepared for it. What do you know? What number meeting this is?
This is 122. I believe.
Okay.
Let me double check that and make sure. Stats and Info is looking it up right now. This will be the 122nd meeting of Clemson versus South Carolina in this college football rivalry weekend. 122. I think 111 games straight were played before 2020 when that game got skipped. Very much still salty about that game not being played in 2020. I'll leave that for another video, but this will be the 122nd meeting in the Clemson South Carolina rivalry. Again, the record all time 73 for Clemson, 44 for South Carolina, and 4 ties all time. Longest winning streak for South Carolina is 5. Longest winning streak for Clemson is 7.
That's right. Well,
little history lesson for the rivalry there before we dive into tonight's episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to talk about just the recent history, this game has a lot of implications for both programs. Heading into this, 6-5 for Clemson, 4-7 for South Carolina. Clearly, they cannot make a bowl game off of this game, but it still means a ton. With the scrutiny that Shane Beamer is under right now, a win over Clemson might be something that can kind of give them some momentum heading into 2026. And same for Clemson. Listen, this has been a pretty disastrous year by all measures, but it's if you can finish the year beating your rival and avoiding losing 2 straight, I think that's a massive way to salvage something from this season. So can't wait to get into it. We got a lot to talk about with this team and what's been going on around the football program heading into this week. So let's dive on into it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it. It's gonna be a fun game, and it's gonna be a fun episode tonight. And looking forward to it, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the episode. Jordan, this past weekend, Clemson took on Furman and handled them much like you would expect a Power 5 team to play against a lower-level FCS team in Furman. They dominated the game. They got a ton of players in, and, the game was never really in doubt. However, Clemson did not get out of the game against Furman unscathed. It was unfortunate that we had really 2 big injuries in this game. Olsen Pat Henry, tight end for the Clemson Tigers, kind of banged up his knee. It seems like it's a patella tendon type of situation for him. Luckily, it's not an ACC or an ACL, excuse me, or anything more severe. It's more of a patella tendon type of deal. And then Jaheim Lawson, one of our bright spots on the defense this year, and a defense that has struggled at a lot of points and times in this season. Jaheim Lawson has been a constant. He's probably been one of the best defensive linemen, maybe right behind Will Helt, that we've had all season. He's a consistent pass rusher. He's a disruptive force along the defensive line, and he's out there on a package that he probably should not have been. But he goes out there, he gets injured. It seems like it's just a sprain, so it seems like it's not going to be anything long-term. It's not going to be anything surgical. But these 2 guys are pivotal pieces for the Tigers, and they're out for the season. So, Jordan, what does this mean for Clemson heading into this South Carolina game, this very pivotal state championship game, when you're missing, 2 of your biggest pieces on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it means a lot, and it's at a pretty ill-advised time. Listen, I think this South Carolina defense you're about to play is not the team you played last year. I think they've taken a considerable step back, but this is still a team with some really, really capable NFL players, and they've played well at points of this season. With Olsen Pat Henry being out, I think that means a ton for in terms of blocking. You're going to need help. You blocking guys like Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas Jr. So listen, this is not an easy challenge for this Clemson offense. And then obviously, losing Jaheim Lawson on the defensive side of the football. He's been arguably your best pass rusher, at least your most consistent. He's flashed essentially every game, and he's really just gotten better and better with each game. And you hate it for him because this was kind of his breakout. We've been kind of waiting. You knew the ability was there. He didn't come along as fast as his older brother did for obvious reasons. So like it was really exciting when things just really started to click for him, earlier in the year. But now you take one of your pass rush specialists off the field. That's going to be. I feel like his presence is really going to be missed on third down, especially. And so now you got to find a way to make up that production elsewhere. Definitely. I mean, obviously you'll see a lot of T.J. Parker and Will Helt on Saturday. Cade Denhoff as well, but Darian Mayo is a guy that's listed now in that two deep. He's that next up to kind of take that place as that fourth defensive end in the rotation. And is he ready for that role? So I guess we'll see. I don't know how much you'll actually see him. Will they play? Will they kind of run TJ and Will Helt into the ground, or will they, actually continue to rotate and get guys in? That's one thing that'll be really interesting. And when you're facing a guy like the Lenore Sellers, who, while he has not been as lethal on the ground this year for a multitude of reasons, this would be the perfect time for them to really start scheming some things with him with the ball in his hands. And I think they did that quite a good bit on Saturday against Coastal Carolina. They got him moving a lot more. So being able to contain, which you weren't able to do last season, is going to be paramount. And not having one of your more athletic pass rushers on the field is going to be. I think his presence is going to be missed on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Jaheim Lawson is a big one, particularly for this Saturday. When you think about a guy in Lenore Sellers coming into this game, it's pivotal that you have your best pass rushers on the field, and you won't have one of your best pass rushers on the field. You won't have one of your best athletes along the defensive line on the field. And he's a guy that can limit Lenore Sellers. He's a guy that could be disruptive in that South Carolina backfield. South Carolina's a team that's given up quite a few sacks this season, and he's a guy that could exploit that weakness. However, he won't be on the field this season, this game. And, as much as Lenore Sellers has not been a threat with his legs as much as he was last season, he has taken a huge step back, and I think part of that was the play calling. Obviously, they fire their offensive coordinator, they fire their offensive line coach, and it's looking like a bit of a different offense, particularly in that last game, and even in the first half of the Texas A&M game that they completely blew. But this could be a game where Lenore Sellers' legs hurt you, right? And Jaheim Lawson would be that guy that you would look to kind of limit some of that, along with a lot of other players. But he's a pivotal piece, and he's not going to be there. And then along the offensive side of the ball, Olsen Pat Henry, if anybody's watched Clemson football for an extended period of time this year, this guy catches everything in his area code. I mean, this guy is a consistent catcher of the football. Whenever Cade Klubnik puts it anywhere in his vicinity, he's most likely going to come up with the football. It's very unfortunate that he takes this injury. These are two big pieces that have been taken off of the Clemson football team, both on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. It's not a good thing, and you're playing a team this week that is a very losable game, and not having two of your most pivotal pieces on each side of the ball is not a good thing. So Clemson's going to have their work cut out for them, and this is obviously not a good thing late in the season. But luckily for both of them, it sounds like they will be a full go for spring and moving forward into the 2026 season. So that is the good news that you can take away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in other injury news, I guess we'll kind of address this as well. Star of the Furman game, really star of the last couple possessions of the Furman game, Chris Denson. He has found himself on the injury report now. It was reported that he got stepped on in practice playing a running scout team, probably, to simulate Lenore Sellers in his legs, and he
Yes.
got stepped on, and now he's going to be out for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much they had planned to play him at all, if at all, on Saturday. But that's unfortunate not to have that in your back pocket now, in case you did have something like a package for him. Just kind of throw a different look or a different wrinkle. So yeah, that's unfortunate. It feels like we barely knew him, and now he's gone again.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, of course that happens in the 2025 version of Clemson football, the hold my beer version of Clemson football. Of course, that's what happens, right? Chris Denson comes out against Furman and has, I think, 106 yards rushing, 4 on passing for 22 yards. He rushes for a touchdown. He throws for another touchdown, and his legs are certainly a weapon. And going into the South Carolina game, you would have loved to see a package or two put in for Chris Denson and be a little creative on offense, right? Again, we don't know the extent of the injury. Dabo Swinney reported today that, the injury happened. He was stepped on, I think, yesterday in practice. He could not finish, and I don't believe he's practiced since then. So what is the likelihood that he would be healthy enough to play in the South Carolina game? I don't really know because we don't know the extent of the injury. So it's just kind of one of those things that's it's just very disappointing, right? You would have loved to see a package or two from that guy because it's clear that he is dynamic with his legs. And you could have done some creative stuff on offense to keep that South Carolina defense off balance and keep them guessing, even with a package with him and Cade in the game together, right? So, again, Dabo Swinney was asked by a reporter in his press conference of if that would happen. That's what sparked Dabo Swinney to tell the media about the injury. And then he was like, I wouldn't answer that anyway. There's no way I would tell you if I was going to put in a package.
Right.
Because obviously you would not do that as a head football coach. So maybe it's not as bad as maybe it appeared in the press conference. And maybe Chris Denson's ready to go, and there is a package for him in South Carolina. I guess all of us Clemson fans will just have to wait and see.
Yep, wait and see. We shall. But yeah, tough injury news for Clemson. I guess on the more positive side, Dabo also mentioned that Stefan Green was available for Furman. They just decided to hold him. So, potentially that could mean that you see him back on Saturday, which would be a massive boost for this defensive front. Stefan Green is, basically a starter for you. And definitely one of the guys I'm circling, and we'll talk about this as we get towards the offseason, guys that you feel you really need to retain for next season. I think he's definitely on the short list there, if you can help it. So it could be massive to get him back, because I think this defensive line is better when he's on the field, just flat out. So yeah. We'll definitely see on that front as well.
No doubt about it. Yeah, Clemson is banged up offensively, defensively. From the injury standpoint, Clemson is not in a good way. We've lost tons of offensive linemen this season. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of what happens on Saturday versus the South Carolina Gamecocks in Columbia, South Carolina. Noon kickoff for that game, SEC Network. I hate that it's a noon kickoff, but again, it is what it is. Clemson, South Carolina always has a draw. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere, and I hope our Clemson Tigers can get it done. But for all other injury news and all things college football, go check out the Voice of College Football or the Voice of College Football webpage. It is your one-stop shop for all things Voice of College Football, all things college football. Every single story you would want to know, it's over there. We got people that are writing stories. We got forums over there. We got our live schedule over there to the left. So go check out the Voice of College Football page at vocfb.com. That's vocfb.com. Go over there, check it out. Let us know what you think. That's your one-stop shop for all things college football, all things Clemson football, and we appreciate your support over there. Jordan, this past Saturday, Clemson played FCS opponent Furman Paladins in Death Valley. It was senior day. It was military appreciation day. It was the all-purple uniform day, which is one of my favorite combinations of Clemson uniforms. It's always a great day. Clemson does a great job with military appreciation day. They do a great job with the senior day. They honor Joey Batson in the game. He ran down the hill. He was also honored at a timeout at one point in time in the game as kind of a farewell for his 29 seasons as strength and conditioning coach at Clemson. And, it went about as well as it could have gone early on in the game. Clemson was scoring early and often. The defense was getting quite a few 3-and-outs. And, it was one of those things where it got a little interesting at one point, and Clemson had to put the first team defense back in to get a stop. And ultimately, Clemson wins a very easy game. A lot of people get in, played 4 quarterbacks, played a ton of players, got a lot of guys on the field that you needed to evaluate going forward into the 2026 season. So your thoughts as you got a chance to go back and watch this Furman game and really get a couple days to kind of digest what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, this game, just kind of there wasn't too much to write home about in terms of the the takeaways. Of course, I mean, offensively, you did what you were supposed to do for at least the first team did, and obviously the bogging down in the second half, or specifically the third quarter, was kind of frustrating, and defensively, you had a couple of breakdowns, but all in all, I think it was a fine performance. Nothing too much noteworthy to talk about. Obviously, the Chris Denson show at the end was probably the most fun part of the game, and I think it was a good tune-up, good opportunity to see a lot of guys get some action. You got to see some of the guys this team is going to be building with in the future. Logan Brookings and the other young offensive linemen.
Hey, when Logan Brookings scored his touchdown, that dude was about to come out of his skin. He was so excited.
Yeah,
he was ready to run through all the brick walls.
Yeah, he was, and so that was good to see. Got to see some of the obviously got to see a lot of the walk-ons play, but yeah, overall pretty good win. Some negatives there for sure, but didn't have too much extra to take away from it when I went back and rewatched it. I think you got to see some guys flash more, guys we haven't seen as much of during the season. It was a good opportunity to get a lot of guys in. The young defensive linemen, Heaven Brown Schuler, Champ Thompson. You got to see Caden Story. We haven't said his name much this year.
Hey, he played really well.
He played well.
Really well.
Of course, Vic Burley, who I think he's coming along more and more, which is good to see, because I definitely think he's a guy if you keep him, he's a guy that you'll definitely have to rely more on next year on that interior. Who else? I mean, you got to see a lot of the seniors. Hell, even Zaire Patterson got in the game. So it was overall that's the type of game you want. So overall, pretty pleased. Just frustrated with some of the lack of execution in that third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, look, the lack of execution in the third quarter was certainly frustrating, and it was a portion of the defense that hadn't played a lot of snaps this season, and they were a portion of the defense that needed to get out there. They got exposed quite a bit, and they're going to get coached very, very hard off of that performance that they put onto the field. When you have to put your first team defense back in, that means that those reserves all those guys that have been preparing all season, all those guys that, some of them think they should be on the field, got exposed and they got told, you're not good enough for this, right? And I think that's important. I think that's a part of development when it comes to college football. And I think that's something that Dabo Swinney and Tom Allen and the defensive staff are going to use to coach those guys up. And then, as far as the quarterback goes, we played 4 quarterbacks in the game against Furman. Chris Vizina did not look great. Trent Pierman did not look great. And, your fourth quarterback in looked really good, right? Especially with his legs. He went over 100 yards rushing, and he was 4 for 4 passing. However, not very many of those passes went past the line of scrimmage. And the one pass that went past the line of scrimmage to Ian Shefflin was not a great pass. It looked wobbly. It looked kind of weird. And Chris Denson is kind of one of those quarterbacks I think that is still really developing, especially with his throwing motion, especially with his delivery. I think he's a guy that still needs a lot of work. And from what I saw on Saturday, just a Clemson fan looking outside, looking in, there is nothing on Saturday that told me that you do not need to go to the portal and go get a quarterback to compete for that starting job. I think you absolutely have to go to the portal and bring in a quarterback that is either going to be the starter or compete for the starting position. That's just where I'm at. And I love Chris Vizina, and it's awesome that he stayed, and he's a loyal guy. But guess what? At the end of the day, the name of the game is to win football games, and I'm just not sold on any current player or any current quarterback on Clemson's roster going forward into 2026. That's just where I'm at right now. So, when it comes to the Furman game, it's great to see all these guys get playing time. It's great to see them, get some play on the field so that they can have tape to develop them and to coach them. But there's a lot of holes on this roster that need to be filled. I think Corian Gibson has done a great job of kind of filling that nickel position and developing as a cornerback there. You're going to lose Avion Terrell this season. Ashton Hampton has his challenges this season. I think that's probably a position group where you're probably going to have to go to the portal as well. Offensive line is going to be one of those position groups, potentially running back. There's going to be a lot of holes on this Clemson roster that are probably going to have to be filled through the portal. And I think that was evident by the depth issue that was highlighted during that Clemson Furman game as we tried to get to the 2-3 deep when the game was out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely, like when you saw the reserves come in, obviously nothing told you that there was like that you should feel good, and comfortable with where you're at, heading into 2026. So, but I think that's, we've already beaten the drum about that. I don't think we needed to see Furman to realize that.
No,
that's just where this program is.
Absolutely. Jordan, Christmas is upon us. I don't know if you know, it is the holiday season. We're about to indulge in all the food in Thanksgiving. But guess what? The Voice of College Football Clemson channel does have merch. If you guys did not know, yes, we do have merch. We got camo hats. We got regular hats. We got crew neck t-shirts, all with the Voice of College Football Clemson logo, crew neck sweatshirts, polos. We got koozies. We got tumblers. We got coffee cups. We got everything that your heart can desire as a college football fan, as a Clemson Tiger fan. So please go check out our merch site, VOCFB-shop. That's VOCFB-shop. It's right there on the screen. Please go check it out. Give us a chance over there. Go get your Clemson fan something special for Christmas. Go get yourself something special for Christmas and support the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. In the meantime, we would really appreciate your support. And guys, thank you so much for that. Cade Klubnik has been the starting quarterback at Clemson for 3 seasons now. He took over for DJ Uiagalelei in a ACC championship game in which he won, and it was an amazing night. It was a great night, and all of that stuff. But the question still remains. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, Westlake in Texas, won multiple state championships. He was a 6A starting quarterback in the state of Texas, probably the biggest state when it comes to high school football. And he chose Clemson. He wanted to come to Clemson. Clemson was his dream school when he was a child. And he comes here, and to be completely honest, Jordan, Cade Klubnik's career has not gone according to plan. It has not gone according to what Clemson fans probably thought it was going to be, what we thought it was probably going to be, what Cade Klubnik thought it was probably going to be. However, we are faced with the question. Cade Klubnik has just 2 games left in a Clemson Tiger uniform with that paw on his helmet. He's got the state championship against South Carolina, and he's got whatever bowl game Clemson ends up going to. What is Cade Klubnik's legacy going to be when he leaves Clemson, both now and in the future? Because as we all know as fans, sometimes our opinions of certain players change over time. So, Jordan, what is Cade Klubnik's legacy? Because his stats are not too bad. When you look at them, they're not as bad as some fans think they are.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a tough question to ask, and it's a very, very nuanced kind of conversation. It probably, I mean, you ask like any random Clemson fan on Twitter, they'll probably give you one extreme or the other. Honestly, that it feels like you either, the fans I see, they either love him and or hate him. But I think obviously the answer is probably a lot of in between. When you talk about this, when you talk about his time at Clemson and his impact on the program, I mean, he came at a time where there was considerable, unrest and and kind of nervousness within the program, and you were just coming off of that by recent Clemson standards, rough 2021 season. DJ Uiagalelei was the starter, and obviously there was plenty of people that were ready for him to move on. He was the shiny new thing. After the disappointment that DJU was following Trevor Lawrence, there's this hope that Cade Klubnik was going to come in and just kind of just correct things, and the DJU experience was a one-off, and that Cade was going to bring this program back to kind of back to the winning that most fans expected, and the DJU legacy, the DJU experience was just going to be viewed as some just bump in the road, and obviously it didn't play out like that. I think we certainly got really, really big-eyed after Cade's performance coming in the ACC championship game back in 2022. And I think there was a level of expectation set from that point that he just flat out has not been able to live up to. 2023, obviously was a season full of struggles and for him and for the team. And I think that certainly was just kind of a shock for a lot of people. It just, because I was like, how has this team gotten worse in a lot of ways than they were with DJ Uiagalelei? And there are a lot of reasons for that, most of which Cade had no control over. But I do think that just over the course of his career and the improvements he made, and obviously taking Clemson to the college football playoff last year, I think there are a lot of reasons to look at Cade's career as a pretty good one. Not great, not elite, not one that the history books are going to they're going to talk about forever and ever. But I think by all objective measures was a pretty solid career. He's 25-13 or 25-14 as a starter.
25-14. Yep.
Yeah, I mean he's 4 passing yards away from passing Charlie Whitehurst on the all-time passing yards list. He's already hit the 10,000 total yards club, and he's 338 I want to say yards away from reaching 10,000 yards. I think he can potentially hit that in his 2 remaining games.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons to look at Cade Klubnik's career, especially from a statistics standpoint, and think, yeah, I mean, he was a pretty good quarterback. But then when you look at the context of which those stats came, and the game, the performances at different points in his career where he himself did not play well, and the team fell short, and obviously losing, he's in 2 of his 3 seasons as starter, Clemson lost 4 or more games. That's going to be tough to reconcile, man.
It's tough. Cade Klubnik's legacy at Clemson is, I think, one of the hardest things to gauge right now, specifically because you're coming off of one of the most successful eras in college football and in Clemson football. Dabo Swinney's run of 2 national championships, 7 playoff appearances, countless ACC championships, and all of that is kind of what taints Clemson's legacy, or not Clemson's, but Cade's legacy when it comes to Clemson football. And you thought this 5-star from Texas was going to come in here and he was going to light up the scoreboard and possibly even win a Heisman. That's not going to happen. And, it's kind of been one of those things where he's not had a bad career at Clemson, but he's not exactly had the career that Clemson fans thought he would have, right? He has 9,600 yards right now as it stands as a passer. He's got 800 plus yards as a rusher. He's got countless touchdowns. Last season was by far his greatest season as a Clemson Tiger, and he seemed to regress in 2025, and I think that's been one of the disappointing things. I think if he would have had a similar season to 2024 in 2025, he would be remembered as a much better Clemson quarterback in a lot of fans' minds. But unfortunately, the 2025 season has not been kind to the Clemson Tigers. It has been an abject failure. It has been a season where things did not go their way. However, he has his best completion percentage of his entire Clemson career this season. He's got, as far as rushing, he's way down. Last year he had over 400 yards rushing on the season. This year, less than 100 yards rushing, right? So, it's been one of those careers where it's just been really up and down. He's a guy that sometimes tries to do too much, and I think that's a result of he's just trying to win football games, right? He's trying to be a baller. He's trying to be a guy that does the most when it comes to winning football games. He wants to win football games. Like, there has never been a time like to go to bat for Cade Klubnik, right? And this is not me putting on my orange colored glasses or anything like that, but to tell Clemson fans, like, I've never walked away from a game where Cade Klubnik has started at quarterback where I didn't think that he wanted to put Clemson in the best position to win a football game. This guy loves Clemson. And he had an interview today where he was like, I get to wear the paw for 2 more games. He's not even thinking about sitting out for a game. And I know people are like, well, he's not going to be a high draft pick anyway, so why would he sit out for a playoff game or sit out for not a playoff game, but a bowl game? That's not the case around the country. This guy loves Clemson. This guy wants to be the Clemson quarterback. He wanted to bring Clemson a national championship. It just didn't work out, right? For whatever reason, whether it was offensive coordinator, whether it was development issues, whether it was a Cade Klubnik issue, whatever the issue was, this guy loves Clemson. He wanted to play for Clemson. He came and played for Clemson. He gave Clemson his all. And for that, I will forever be grateful. It has not gone exactly how I thought it would for Cade Klubnik here at Clemson, but what I've never wavered on was Clemson or Cade Klubnik's love for Clemson football and his want to put them in the best position to win football games. That's what I will never second guess. And it's probably going to take some time to kind of revisit it and kind of go back and look at things. Right now it's kind of raw, and this is a season where this is not probably a fair question to ask because a lot of Clemson fans are disgruntled, they're irritated, they're pissed off about what the Clemson football season has become in 2025, particularly because of the expectations coming into the season. But Cade Klubnik is a baller. He's a guy that he's a Clemson guy through and through. I'm happy that he came to Clemson. I think it would have been much worse if he did not come to Clemson. Although he has not been the best decision maker for much of his career, I'm still super thankful that he decided to bring his talents to Clemson, South Carolina, and be our quarterback. Because if not, I think it could have been much worse.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. And it's, on the topic of, how far removed do we have to be from his career before, people start to warm up? And that's one thing that I think we've certainly seen it before. I feel like I think Kelly Bryant is the perfect example of this because Kelly Bryant got a lot of criticism when he was a starter in 2017. And in the immediate aftermath, and of course, in 2018, leaving the team and the whole championship ring controversy. There was a lot of things that that happened that kind of turned. You ask your average Clemson fan about Kelly Bryant, at that time, and many of them would have some negative things to say about him. But then I think now, that you're almost a decade removed, man, that's crazy to think about. 8 years. Man.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But now that you're removed from that, I do think the fans, you ask your average Clemson fan about Kelly Bryant nowadays, and there's a lot more positive reception there. I wonder if that'll be. I wonder if that'll be what happens with Cade. I don't know. Cade was certainly the starter for much longer. I think and obviously Kelly Bryant went to a college football playoff, but I mean, in a 4-team playoff. So I think there definitely is a little bit of a difference there. But I just wonder if there's going to be that similar effect because, Cade, certainly when you look in the history books, he's going to be, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback statistically.
Yes.
Maybe top 4 after these next couple of weeks. So it's a tough thing to reconcile. I kind of struggle with how I feel about his time here because in many ways he gave a lot of great memories. Cade Klubnik, listen, the lows were pretty low, but he had some really, really high highs too. And I think that's one thing that you kind of have to take. You kind of have to take that the good with the bad there. And I just. I think ultimately the real answer is, it's a nuanced question, and it's probably his career was probably a mixed bag, a good bit of a mixed bag, but there was a lot of good that came out of it, and I mean there was also a lot of bad, and I guess the Clemson fans' answer to that question will depend on how much blame they assign to him for the bad, because ultimately, I think there are plenty of things you can get on him for, but the decline over the last few seasons has not been because simply because Cade Klubnik was your quarterback. There's certainly a lot of things within this program that definitely need to change that have contributed to the slide, and this season has been a abject failure for more reasons than Cade Klubnik's play. I think that's ultimately where we stand, and I think you're probably going to need to have a few years before you have a really the fan base kind of comes to a consensus on him. So we'll.
I mean, I think ultimately Clemson will lean favorably when it comes to Cade Klubnik, particularly because of just kind of his demeanor, his attitude, his just overall outlook on Clemson. I think they will land favorably, but again, we will see. It's probably going to be a year or two before that is kind of the consensus around Clemson fans.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, make sure you're catching out Clemson live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever, whenever you like to listen to your podcast. Search Clemson live, whether you're on a long drive, whether you're working out, whenever, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Make sure you're searching up Clemson live. Give us a rate, review, subscribe over there, and we will really appreciate it. All of our long-form content is over there. This video will be over there. All of our cut-up videos that we post on the channel will be over there as well in podcast form. So please search Clemson Live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms and give us a rate, review, and subscribe. Jordan, this Saturday, Clemson, South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina, 12 noon kickoff on the SEC channel. It is going to be an epic battle this Saturday. These are two teams, and let's be completely honest. These are two teams that came into the season with much higher hopes than they currently hold as far as the 2025 season goes. South Carolina came into the season with hopes of, possibly competing for the SEC championship. They were coming off of season where they probably overachieved, and they achieved, pretty good results in 2024, and they were looking to build upon that under a Shane Beamer tutelage, where they would, kind of get things going in the right direction. And Clemson came into this season much higher expectations. They were expected to compete and win the ACC championship. They were expected to compete in the college football playoffs and possibly make a run. There was a lot of college football pundits out there that said Clemson would win the national championship this year. And then they came out, they dropped a game to LSU. They stumbled through a win against Troy, and the rest is history. It was not a good season for the Clemson Tigers. We fumbled and faltered, and it was an epic disaster of a season for the Clemson Tigers. We just achieved bowl eligibility against Furman, an FCS opponent, in the middle of November. So these two teams come in as massive disappointments based on their preseason expectations. Now they face each other in a state championship game that means everything to both of these fan bases coming into the game, because we really have nothing else to play for. There's no big bowl game. I mean, South Carolina's not even going to a bowl game. Clemson, they're going to go to some low-level bowl game. Previous to the New Year's Six bowl games, they're going to go to some low-level bowl game that, I hate the quote-unquote meaningless bowl games because to me, there's no meaningless bowl games. But, however, for a lot of college football fans, there are meaningless bowl games, and Clemson's bowl game will be dubbed as a meaningless bowl game. There will probably be several opt-outs. But this is a huge game in the state of South Carolina. This is a game that is going to put the cherry on top of a shit Sunday, if you will, for both teams, right? Both teams have massively underachieved this season. Both teams have massively had a failure of a college football season. And this will be the cherry on top of a shit Sunday. And what team will achieve that cherry on top of this Sunday? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you set it up really well. I mean, these are two teams that have massively disappointed. Both teams were in the preseason top 15. This is a game that I think is going to shape a lot of kind of fans' opinions of both coaches. Heading into heading into the offseason. I mean, I think obviously Shane Beamer is the one that's not going to make a bowl game, and he's certainly been under fire. I think obviously the Texas A&M game is a game I've never seen a team blow a game like that in quite some time. So that was something.
30-3, and then ultimately lose 31-3.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty incredible.
That's
but
crazy.
Yeah, but both teams have had their lows, and I think South Carolina has probably had I don't know, maybe have they had the higher highs? Maybe. Obviously, I don't think either team has played.
They've had the more difficult schedule, but have they had the higher highs? I mean, I don't know that. I don't know that they've had the higher highs.
I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, it's kind of hard because neither team has played particularly well. I mean, the first half of Texas A&M was probably the best either team has played all season between both of them. So maybe that's what you point to. But both of these squads are extremely flawed, and this is a game that I think for good reason is South Carolina is actually favorite. Clemson was the favorite last weekend, and then heading into the week the line flipped. I don't know what it's sitting at now. This is the first time Clemson has been an underdog to South Carolina in 12 years. So it tells you a lot about kind of how this season has gone for Clemson. But moreover, I think it also says a little bit about South Carolina that they definitely are a bowl caliber football team that didn't make a bowl game. They probably are better than their record in terms of the talent they have on the roster, but like Clemson, severely underperformed. So I think this is a game where both teams are going to be. I definitely don't expect it to be a pretty football game because neither team has played football very pretty this season. Kind of diving into this South Carolina team in general. I mean, obviously, offensively led by Lenore Sellers, who we've already mentioned has not played his best football. Neither quarterback has. So that's another aspect of this game that both teams share. But he's still as athletic as ever. He's still as much of a threat and that you have to account for. He still has a cannon for an arm. He's still capable of making high-level NFL throws. I think this South Carolina offense goes as he goes because the thing that has hurt them the most this season has been pass protection. Lenore Sellers has been the most sacked quarterback in the Power Four this year. and it's not close. I mean, some of them have been. I think some of the games that I've watched, it felt like it was him holding the ball, holding onto the ball for too long. But there's a reason they fired their offensive line coach. I mean, Lonnie Teasley, mid-season, it just flat out wasn't good enough. They were breakdowns in pass protection, lots of penalties, lots of false start procedural penalties throughout the season have really hurt them. So, I think it was a kind of a thing where Shane Beamer was like, okay, I got to make a change now. And I think to his credit, I think they've played better since Sean Elliott, who was their tight ends coach, has taken on the offensive line duties like he did in his previous stint at South Carolina. Still don't think they're a particularly good unit, but I think they're playing better as of late. So I think that's going to be, we'll see kind of how they rise to the challenge against Clemson's defensive front. South Carolina's weapons, I think, have been really inconsistent this season. Wide receiver has been kind of a mixed bag. I think you've seen Jaden Sellers and Nick Harbor come along as of late, but beyond that, it's just it feels like it's a bunch of Jags. So they have some young guys that I think could potentially have some talent. But Mazio Bennett has not built on his freshman campaign. Brian Rowe and what's the other kid's name that Donovan Murph have not really come up as true freshmen the way that they probably needed them to. So it really is just kind of a mixed bag at receiver. I do think for Clemson defensively, you got to know where. One, they've been throwing Jaden Sellers the ball a lot. He's really come along. But also, of course, you got to account for Nick Harbor. I don't think he's a particularly gifted receiver in terms of his route running, his technique, or his hands. But if he gets the ball in open space, good luck tackling him. That run against Texas A&M, that was the first time he really got to truly showcase his track speed in a while. And it really puts things in perspective. A guy that big moving that fast. He is truly a freak of nature. I feel like he still probably should have a hand in the dirt, but that's neither here nor there. So that's kind of this South Carolina offense in a nutshell. They've done a lot in recent weeks with the promotion of Mike Furry to get Lenore Sellers comfortable. A lot more quick passes, a lot more getting him opportunities outside the pocket to throw the football just on the run. Make sure his legs are a factor and a part of the equation on every play. Because I felt like, watching other defenses, it felt like they didn't respect Lenore's legs as much as he made defenses do last season. I think that was partially by design of Mike Shula, who is now, of course, is now fired. So, I think that's kind of that's what this offense is, and I think running the football has been kind of a what do you call it? It's been kind of a moot endeavor, however you want to say it. And so I think they have some talented backs, but they have not been able to get a consistent push up front to where I'm particularly worried about South Carolina just running all over Clemson in the traditional run game on Saturday. What do you see about this South Carolina offense?
Yeah, this South Carolina offense, look, it starts and ends with Lenore Sellers. Let's be completely honest. Lenore Sellers is the guy that makes this South Carolina offense go. He's just over 2,000 yards passing on the 2025 season. He's just over 268, 270 yards rushing, right? And that's a stark contrast to his game in 2024, where he had almost 700 yards rushing. And it has not been a season where they have utilized his legs as much as they did in the 2024 season. I think part of that was the offensive coordinator. He has since been fired. The offensive line coach has since been fired. And, this is a game where I'm worried, right, Jordan? Like, if we're being completely honest, I'm worried. I'm worried about Lenore Sellers' legs. I'm worried about him going off against this Clemson defense when it comes to him creating when plays break down, like when not necessarily design quarterback runs, but when the play breaks down and he has to scramble outside of the pocket and create, that's when Lenore Sellers becomes extremely dangerous as a quarterback. And this is a point. This is a point where Clemson's defense has struggled so far this season. They struggled last season. This is the difference maker when we lost a season ago in Clemson Stadium, right? In Death Valley. We lost because of Lenore Sellers' legs, his ability to create plays when chaos ensues. And it's one of those things where, is the defense going to be disciplined enough in their rush lanes? Are they going to keep him inside the pocket? Are they going to force him and squeeze him inside that pocket in order to make the proper plays in order to get the win on Saturday? That's the question. And it's a big question. And it's a question where I'm not comfortable with being 100% Clemson is going to keep him inside the pocket. They're going to confine him. They're going to squeeze him within the pocket. They're going to make him beat him with their arms. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I know Tom Allen got interviewed today, and he is well aware of what Lenore Sellers did to this defense last season. And I'm sure there's going to be a great plan. I'm sure Sammy Brown is going to be a big part of the spy of Lenore Sellers and tracking where he is going to go. That is going to be a big key in the Clemson defense when it comes to defending South Carolina and defending Lenore Sellers. You got to keep him within the pocket. You got to keep him contained. You got to stay within your rush lanes. And you got to dare South Carolina to beat you with Lenore Sellers' arms. That's what you have to do in this game if you're Clemson's defense. Are they capable of doing that? We're about to see.
Yeah, we are about to see. And this is the time, while they certainly throughout this point of the season have not used Lenore Sellers' legs as much as you thought they would. This is the perfect time to break it out. Listen, if I'm South Carolina and I'm looking at how Clemson's defense played them last year, I'm certainly making sure Lenore's legs are
100%.
Much like with Louisville, they did a lot of the same things they did in the previous matchup. Clemson just played it a little bit better than they did last year. But they were like, okay, well, we're gonna cut block. We're gonna run a lot of wide zone. We're gonna give our running backs opportunities to get downhill because we don't think they're going to be all that physical if we can get to the second level. Like those were the kind of things that they did last season that they were like, okay, well, why fix what ain't broke? So I think if I'm in South Carolina's, position coach meeting or offensive meeting room, and we're discussing the game plan. Listen, I'm doing a lot of the things, the same things, and a lot of it was also Lenore's, creating when the play broke down. But they did a lot of QB power, QB counter in that game, especially in that fourth quarter when notoriously they took Sammy Brown off the field. I think that was one of the things that they did, and with Clemson's, with Clemson's injury situation right now, I don't see why you wouldn't, especially now that one of your more athletic edge rushers is not going to be in the football game. So this is going to be a tough matchup. Simply because Lenore Sellers is still an extremely dangerous quarterback. And I mean, I think you got to hope that he's not on his game and he's not throwing the football well, because I think if that's the case and you make him pretty one dimensional, you have a shot. Because even last year, I mean, you did, and you had a lot of missed opportunities on the other side of the football that contributed to giving South Carolina even the opportunity to go and win that game in the end. And so,
yeah, absolutely. You got to win. You got to win the turnover battle. You got to keep Lenore Sellers in the pocket. You got to make him beat you with his arm. And he's averaging 2 yards a rush right now so far this season. And he's got similar passing yards to last season. He's got over 2,000 passing yards, over 2,500 for last season. And it's one of those things where you're going to have to contain him within the pocket. And can you do that as a defense? And turning over to Clemson's side of the football and talking about Clemson's offense, what does Clemson's offense, Jordan, look like against this South Carolina defense? What challenges is this South Carolina defense going to bring to this Clemson offense, particularly a senior quarterback in Caden Klubnik playing his last regular season game against the Gamecocks? He's trying to get a win. He's going to do his best. And, what do you see as far as their limiting factors when it comes to stopping this Clemson offense?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the South Carolina defense, and I mentioned it earlier, I mean, I still think this is a pretty quality defense. All things considered, they're kind of hovering right around where Clemson is in terms of yards per play. I think they're a little bit behind, just a little bit over 5 yards per play allowed. They're not the defense they were last year.
Not at all.
That's been pretty apparent. Just not as special at linebacker and on the back end as they were last year. I mean, there's no freaks like. You're not. I mean, Dylan Stewart up front is a freak, but they don't have the same level of star power that they did last year with guys like Demetrius Knight and Nick Emenwari. Like those guys are gone. DQ Smith. Like it's not the same defense. I think they still have some quality players. They did a good job addressing some of their needs in the portal. Guys like Brandon Cisse, Gabe Brownlow-Dindy. They have some guys that can play, but I think they're still a little bit more susceptible on the back end. They're more susceptible on the back end. I think their defensive backs are pretty good in run support. So that's one thing I think Clemson is going to have to be able to do very well, and that includes the screen game, because South Carolina's DBs are physical. They will trigger. They will come downhill, and they will tackle. But I do think that could mean there are some opportunities to make plays downfield if you can hit them. And so I think that's kind of my thing. And the pass rush is still solid, but I don't think they're nearly as good as they were last year either. Dylan Stewart has kind of like TJ Parker has had more of a quiet season in terms of statistical production. I still think he's been pretty good, but it just has not had the same level of production as he did as a freshman. But on the other end, I already mentioned they have Brian Thomas Jr., who is a really, really good defensive end in his own right. Up the middle, I mentioned Gabe Brownlow-Dindy, who has been their highest graded player per PFF on defense. And also Nick Barrett. Shout out to Nick Barrett. His dad is a family friend of mine, so wanted to give him a shout out. He's had a really good season in kind of his. I think he's a senior now. Kind of been in the program a while, and he's having his best year. He's got an 86.8 run defense grade per PFF. That is pretty damn good. I still think they're pretty solid on the defensive line. Not quite as disruptive, but they are still a very, very good unit. And at linebacker, they've had some guys that have started to step up in the recent weeks. I think Justin Okoronkwo has been quietly one of the better linebackers in recent weeks. He's kind of started to come along as the season goes on. So I think he's a guy that you'll see a lot more of on Saturday. And you want to limit his effectiveness as well. So I still think their best defensive back, Jalen Kilgore, Um, he's pretty good, man. He's going to be a pretty high draft pick when he's eligible. I don't think he's eligible this year. I feel like he was a true freshman last year. He might be eligible. I have to check on that, but I think he's really, really good. But again, like I said, I think this South Carolina defense has some good pieces. They don't have the same level of star power that they did last year, and it showed statistically and just throughout the season. They're just not as special. So I do think Clemson will have plenty of opportunities to move the football. You just got to go score points.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you got to go score points. It's going to be a hard fought game. I think it's going to be a close game, and we'll get into the score prediction now. So now that we've talked about the game, we've talked about Clemson's offense, we talked about Clemson's defense, we talked about South Carolina's offense, we talked about South Carolina's defense, we talked about the disappointing teams that are coming into this game, and it's one of those games where the seasons have been disappointing, but it's kind of a reignited fire when it comes to a rivalry game, right? So as disappointing as South Carolina's season has been, as disappointing as Clemson's season has been, this is a game where both teams want to win the football game, especially the fan bases, but particularly, the head coaches. You talk about Shane Beamer and the fire that he is under. He needs to win this game quick, bad, and in a hurry. Dabo Swinney needs to win this game because this season has gone about as bad as it possibly could. It's a disaster of a season, and now the time comes, Jordan, for us to make our score predictions for the Clemson South Carolina game this Saturday noon on the SEC network. And before we get to our score prediction, I will ask those in the comment section, please get your score prediction into the comment section. Please let us know what you think is going to happen this Saturday when the Clemson Tigers face off in Columbia, South Carolina against the South Carolina Gamecocks, 12 noon Eastern on the SEC network. Jordan, what do you think? What is your score prediction? Who are you picking? What do you got? What do you got? And who's the score?
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, I've gone back and forth with this game because I do think there are some matchups that scare me in this football game. I question Clemson's ability on the interior to handle South Carolina. I think that's honestly scares me a little bit more than the edge pressure because you can manage. You can manage edge pressure, but if you're losing up the middle, that's the death sentence for any play. And I don't know, man. I think with Braden Jacobs being out, I do think there's been a significant less juice, in the middle. Obviously, either guy you plug in at left guard, whether it's Harry, you're going to see both of them. But if you see Harris Sewell and Colin Sadler, I mean, those are guys that have played a good bit for you now. But I don't know, man. It's I question it. They're going to have to show me that they can run the ball between the tackles.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure they
by
can.
the way, South Carolina is favored according to ESPN Bet Sportsbook by 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
The over/under is 46.5. And the matchup predictor, according to ESPN, 63.6 for the Carolina Gamecocks.
Yep. So the power ratings seem to like South Carolina, especially on at home, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that analytically because. Like I said, I think South Carolina is better than it's probably better than 4-7 in terms of the quality of football team. They have some really talented pieces on that team.
Absolutely.
And so this is going to be a tough game. This is going to be a close game. Clemson might have the better record, but I don't necessarily think they're the better team. We'll see. But I'm going to trust Clemson's experience and just the volatility that South Carolina has had this season, and just the recent history of Clemson just playing extremely well in Columbia for whatever reason. Obviously a lot of those games have been because Clemson was just flat out the better football team. But even a couple of years ago, in 2023 and 2021, when Clemson wasn't necessarily all that good, they still went in and played well enough to win. I'm going to take the Tigers. I woke up today thinking I was going to pick South Carolina, and I might feel differently, but I don't know. I woke up today and as the day went on, I have a strangely better feeling about it. And I think the team is going to show up on Saturday, and get you a nice close to an otherwise really, really awful season. Final score, I don't expect it to be all that high scoring. I'm going to take Clemson 24, South Carolina 21. Tight football game, could come down to a final kick, but I think Clemson wins out.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've gone back and forth this entire week. I have not known where to kind of land on this game. And, I've talked about Lenore Sellers' legs and how it would be fitting of a Clemson Tiger team to just give up a ton of yards to Lenore Sellers on the ground, especially now that they've fired their offensive coordinator, they fired their offensive line coach, them to come out with a completely different game plan. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna trust Tom Allen. I'm gonna trust Dabo Swinney. I'm gonna know that they saw the game from last year, and they are going to contain Lenore Sellers. And I don't believe Lenore Sellers can beat you with his arm. I think the secondary in the past 3 weeks has played much better than they have the rest of the season. I'm not saying they've had a banner season for Clemson at all. Don't get me wrong. But in the past 3 games, the secondary has played much better. Corian Gibson has been a much needed addition to this Clemson secondary, particularly in the nickel position. I think putting Sammy Brown as a spy for Lenore Sellers is going to be a thing that Clemson does. I think Cade Klubnik is going to go out on top. He's going to try to do his best to try to win this game. And for me, I think Clemson gets it done. None other than I absolutely despise the South Carolina Gamecocks. And I cannot bring it to myself to pick them to win this game. Even though a lot of the logic that goes into college football would tell me that South Carolina is probably going to win this game. I just don't think they do. I think Clemson wins 28-24. Tigers on top. We keep trading, and we keep with the trend of winning in each other's stadium, at least for one more season. I hope that gets rectified next year, but for at least one more season, we're going to keep trading the wins in our respective stadiums. Clemson 28, South Carolina 24. That's my score prediction.
I like it. So we're both on the positive train.
I can't pick South Carolina, man. I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. As bad as Clemson has been this season, I just can't. I can't do it. So Clemson 28, South Carolina 24. You got Clemson 24, South Carolina 21. That's our score prediction. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button. Really helps us out on these live videos. Consider subscribing. Me and Jordan do this live episode, the All In Show, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. We also do a post-game live video immediately following every single Clemson game. So come hang out with us there. If you want to experience a watch along or a game stream with me and Jordan, consider becoming a channel member. Hit that join button below the video, select your tier, and you will become a member of the channel on a monthly basis, and you can support the channel in that way and get access to that exclusive content. And with all of that said, and without further ado, Jordan, let's get to the comment section. We'll chop it up. We'll get to a couple comments, and then we'll get out of here for the night.
All right. Yeah, because unfortunately I got to run here pretty soon, so
Absolutely,
it's going to be shorter.
Let's take as many as you can take, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. Let's see. People talking about sacks. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, Clemson production-wise, I think they have about 26 on the year. You know, they've been okay.
South Carolina's allowed what, 18 sacks on the year?
I can pull it up. Let's see, sacks allowed.
Yeah, pull that up. I think they've allowed 18.
It's more than I was like 18. They've allowed that. That sounds kind of low. I feel like it's been more than that. Oh, let me. No, they've given up 38. Yeah, that sounds 38 on the season.
Way more than I thought.
Yeah, that is 131st. So yeah, that is that sounds about right. So yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for this Clemson defense to. I mean, I think you'll see. I think you'll see Tom Allen take some chances. You know, to get some pressure. You send some blitzes, and I think. I mean, I think the secondary's played better the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the opponent has.
They played a lot better.
Yeah,
the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, but so you know, you need that trend to continue but I think the Louisville game is probably the best indicator that they might have improved. I mean, Miller Moss did not have much of anything over the top on this defense, which, hey, listen, we take all day. I think if you're Clemson, the defensive strategy should be to, you know, just keep everything in front of you, because I don't know if South Carolina is a team that's going to put together a 11, 12, 13 play drive and go score touchdowns. Like, I feel like they need to hit explosive plays. And so as long as you don't have the coverage busts, which we certainly haven't seen the same amount of in the last few weeks, then
we've been a lot better about not letting people get behind them in the coverage.
Yeah. So
in the past 3 weeks. So hopefully they've turned that corner.
Hopefully. John says Clemson has 35 sacks. That doesn't sound right. Is that do they really have 20?
Do they?
I have Clemson at the website I'm looking at. Clemson has 28, which is in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie for 26th. So not bad. Like they're getting
they're getting to the quarterback. They are. So
yeah. Oh, he says that, yeah, that may have been last year. Okay, yeah, because I was like, are we sure? Yeah, it was last year. I just looked at 2024. Yeah, they had 35 last year. I was like, dang. I mean, because if Clemson had 35, they'd be like top 5 in the country. We'd be talking about we'd be talking a lot differently about this defensive line, even as bad as the secondary has played this year. Let's see. John says, I think Orange wins. It'll be a vomit-worthy game, but the good guys win. I like it. Yeah, I definitely don't expect this to be a pretty one. It really hasn't been ever the last several matchups. It's been pretty ugly for both teams in one way or another. Let's see. Isaac says the secondary play has been so bad it sort of negates the sacks, in my opinion. Our defense hasn't really bullied any decent caliber team this year. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think it's really because you've been so poor. Because statistically, Clemson has actually been pretty good. Like on third down success rate, I think they are. I want to say they're 24th in the country. So they're defensively, they've actually been pretty good on third downs, but yet you've seen Clemson give up so many explosive pass plays because, well, no, they weren't happening on third down. They're happening on first and second. And so, that in and of itself negates a lot of it because you're just not, so when you're giving up points, it's like the offense is just moving down the field with ease. Like they're just hitting explosive play after explosive play. And so you're not always getting the third down. So, I mean, when this team has gotten the third down, they've been okay for the most part. They've had their stretches, but they're I think that's the thing is getting the third down and I think they're 8th in the country in average third down distance. So, which is crazy. It really has been feast or famine with this defense. It's like either they're getting a 3 and out, or they're giving up chunk play after chunk play after chunk play, and it's frustrating. And because it's just been it's been an equal mix of both. It's not like, oh, okay, no, they have a couple of lapses here and there. It's like nope. It's like one drive they're killing it. Just stuffing the run, stuffing a first down run, getting a pass breakup, and then getting a sack, and then the next drive it's 20 yard run, 25-yard pass, boom, explosive play, touchdown. Like you're just like, okay, there's just no level of consistency. Let's see. West Sauce says, if your family starts arguing about politics at Thanksgiving, please send me the video. Yeah, I'll be sure to do that. Well,
politics? No, we don't do politics here. Me and Jordan do politics when we get off of here.
Oh yeah, oh totally. Yeah, we just yap it up. We just yapped it up about politics after the show. Michael says DJ Lagway to Clemson, not as crazy as it seems. I mean, hey, listen, I would take I know some Clemson fans might disagree, but I would take DJ Lagway to even if it's just to create the opportunity, the competition in the room. Because I don't think DJ Lagway, the football player, is a finished product, but I still think he has loads of talent. And hey, he's playing offense he's playing in a Billy Napier offense. I mean, he had been objectively terrible in some games this year. So don't get me wrong, but like I still think there's a good football player in there somewhere. I think maybe if Clemson, if you're in a better situation next year, maybe he blossoms. I definitely think you have receivers that he'd be able to work with, and I guess it just depends on what the offense itself looks like. All right, let me see. Yeah, and I forgot to mention the fourth down success rate is pretty horrendous. Yeah, for Clemson defensively, it feels like they haven't gotten a fourth down stop in forever. I don't have the numbers on that, but I feel pretty confident. Feels like teams are 100% on fourth down. Says, yeah, right. I mean, Duke literally was. So that tells you anything. Every single fourth down they converted. And they had like five or six. I mean, just embarrassing. Didn't Lagway burn a bridge with that? Yeah, kind of. But, I don't. Listen. I mean, you're at a point now where, I mean, you have to start considering, other, you have to consider, kind of how you, whether or not to hold grudges, because that's one thing that I've always been kind of whatever about Dabo is, hey, listen, if you listen, the rules are the rules. Like if you, the rules are the rules. We won't recruit you anymore. That's fine. But I mean, like years down the line, and a kid wants to come to your school, and they have a change of heart or whatever. I mean, I don't believe in that. We're just not going to talk to you type of thing.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in that either.
Which he has done before with other players that have reached out in the portal, which is, yeah, some of the names I've been told, I mean, it makes you wonder. Let's do one more and then we'll get on out of here. Katie says, depends on the next offensive coordinator, honestly. If they understand how to use lefties, then a JKS from Cal should be the first call. I like JKS a lot. I mean, I think the kid can sling it. He certainly has that more of a Garrett Riley build. Well, but that I'm talking about Garrett Riley. We'll talk about Garrett Riley and his future maybe in a future episode. We'll get into that. But yeah, it does depend on who is running your offense next year, certainly.
We'll get into it later. So.
Oh yeah, no, John. I'm not saying it's Lagway has to be your only option. I saw somebody talking like that. He was confident that Arch Manning was going to come. I mean, sure. Why? Hey, why not? I don't know, but it doesn't even have to be like a high profile name necessarily, like of that caliber. But I mean, a guy that can that has shown he can play somewhere. That wants to come. I mean, you give him the opportunity to come in and compete, and I guess that's one of the toughest things, especially with quarterback, is because they're of all the positions. I mean, quarterback is going to be the one where you're going to see the most, the most guys that want assurances that they're going to be given the starting job. And that's just the nature of the position, because only one person can play it at a time. I thought a godly man says his dad should be able to forgive and forget, but I guess not. I mean, he has in a few circumstances, but some of them I've been. It's like, I don't know, man. Sometimes you got to recognize you got an opportunity to go get a good player, but I get it. I guess. All right, I think that's enough for me. I gotta get rolling. So I'm gonna let you close out the show for us tonight, TPC.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We got 27 people in the live chat. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We will be here to stream the Clemson, South Carolina game this Saturday, 12 p.m. Come check us out. Join the members only. Hit that join button right below this video. Select your tier. Become a member of the channel and support the channel on a monthly basis, and you can come join us for the Clemson, South Carolina stream. We will be here, and we look forward to it. Go Tigers. Clemson on top. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you have a great time with your family, your friends, and with all of that said, go Tigers, and we'll see you in the next one.
Later, y'all. Beat the Gamecocks.